Hi, Dumela Magareshu, Kalibito, Kinna Kuchometi. Welcome to yet another beautiful episode of The Conversation Starter. Today we got some nice conversations like all the time. Well, episode here today we're going to be looking into the content that which we put respect more element in the relationship. And I have a very cool guest today, Mr. Wanderlust Productions himself, and he's gonna be engaging with us with that show. And we have Word Out on Art, where we're going to be looking at Bonani Ocean's artworks, and we'll be giving out Word of the Day exhibitions. So check out the whole show. We'll give it to you after the break. Welcome back to The Conversation Starter. The topic of the day is, to which context do we rationalize respect in relationships? Respect is one of the greatest expressions of love. It's a way of differentiating towards the figures in terms of authority. Like, so that's another element where we can put respect. Respect being given to people with power. A basic right that every individual can make their own decisions and actually be respected for making those decisions. And reflected on how you treat each other every day and valuing each other's opinions. Those are the basics that content respect on a human being. So this term we are translating it into the relationships because it tends to have an element where women are sometimes misinterpreted a lot. Them standing firm for themselves and actually having an opinion where respect, but when so, and I get to ask myself, in this aspect, the word respect, how do you then say I can have a chance to view out my opinion, for me to be heard, and then yet when I do that you say I'm being disrespectful? On that content on its own, I'm not being disrespected as an individual for me sharing my own opinion, and this becomes to be an obstacle modi relationshiping in terms of growth when we're going down to gender issues and all of that. So we are going to engage more with the topic with Mr. Wanderlust Production himself. We call him Kox in the productions. So yeah, after the break we'll be engaging more on the topic. Welcome back to The Conversation Starter. We have Mr. Wanderlust Production in the house. Mr. Wanderlust Production, but he's here himself to tell us more about himself. Hey, let's get to check us on our social media platforms. Search Town Waves on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, The Conversation Starter on Facebook. Mr. Wanderlust Production. How gonna reject Kima Mr. Wanderlust Production? Come gare iputisha Wanderlust Production.
Wanderlust, okay, it's Wanderlust Productions, yes, but it's Wanderlust Pictures.
Wanderlust
pictures for now. Productions, we're growing into that. We'll grow into it.
So I'm foreseeing the future.
Right now, productions are still elsewhere. But basically, Wanderlust Pictures is a creative solutions company. On one side we have comic book and animation content. On the other side, we have illustration and graphic solutions as well. So we kind of balance out, the feast and famine of the industry. You know what I mean? But that's beside the point. Let's talk about what I'm here to talk about.
So you can't wait to
I want to get into it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
All right. So let's just get down to it.
Yes.
What is respect? What does respect mean to you in a relationship?
Respect for me in a relationship would have to be about boundaries. I feel like it most of the time the concept itself shouldn't even exist until you reach a boundary. That's when you have to remember, crossing it or not is whether you respect the person or not. So a respect is just all about boundaries. Boundaries from friends to family to privacy, because it's still a thing in a relationship. People still want it. So basically that's respect. Boundaries.
So those rules where the other partner has to actually know, I don't have to.
It's not. They're not always stated down.
Okay.
From growing up and interactions, but you start to develop a sense of what is right and wrong, what is respectful or not. You know what I mean? So all of the relationship, maybe you try to do something that your partner might not be happy about. You know what I mean? That's where
conscious.
Exactly. Are you respecting your partner in doing that thing or in crossing that boundary or
Okay. All right. So okay. Like what showing signs of respect and disrespect can you give from it? Like when you say someone is being disrespectful or when you say someone is being respectful, like so from I want to understand from your perspective.
Like I said, this is how I define it. You know what I mean? In a matter of boundaries and the setting of rules in some cases and coming to an agreement and maybe crossing it, but then there's also respect in the sense sometimes cultural. Culturally respect takes on a different turn. It's not longer based on boundaries but more on control. You know what I mean? So it gets a little trickier because sometimes you doing something might be seen as disrespectful, whereas to another, it's in that regard it's subjective. It changes from person to person.
Disrespectful and then respectful like just three, like saying okay one tele okay ga ile kwa strateng o ne tablela ka lina la ka bolela le dithaka o ngusha wena ke tse di fentse wena o filang gore mo jalo ngwanyano wa ntelela mo ngwanyano ke wa nhlompa.
Okay. Like I said, boundaries for now. It's like get about the boundaries. Mo talk about crossing the boundaries. Like if I get because every person has their own personal boundary. Let's say maybe it's a privacy thing. Let's say maybe you can have a phone, and I have a password, and then all of a sudden really an argument about the contents of my phone. You know what I mean? If get boundary setting, please respect it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And maybe sometimes I might be outside with friends, and you're not able to get hold of me or something like that. And next thing, my friend's phone rang. You know what I mean? For me, that might be crossing a boundary. You know what I mean?
So that's being disrespectful.
Yeah, you're not respecting. Yeah.
Okay. So I usually hear a lot of gents and around commanding and outspoken independent women to be disrespectful, like so we are like what's your take on that?
Obviously, yes. Most guys, some guys, let me not say most, some guys actually do find women like that. How can I put it? Threatening. You know what I mean? Intimidating. You know what I mean? Because some guys are just not all about the debate in a relationship. You know, they just want to set the rules and have
but
things
don't you
go
think
certain
that's
way.
what builds the relationship?
What the rules?
The communicating.
Yeah, it does.
Hey,
that like I said, some guys. Me on the other hand, I appreciate a good debate. You know what I mean?
Okay.
If we can then sit here and then talk till 12 about what needs to be done, as long as we reach a resolution. You know what I mean? And then that's good.
Okay. Oh yeah, all right. So something no outspoken woman. Because a lot of you guys think that we are being disrespectful. So, but do you think the word respect is being used in the right context in relationships, and especially in the modern relationships?
I want to go together in that context. In that particular context, it will be drawn from a cultural perspective, where it comes from that person's definition of disrespect. You know what I mean? Then now you'll find that you actually disrespect this person from morning till night. You know what I mean?
But you seem like a cool chap. You seem like someone who would understand and wouldn't actually come across such elements to be a distraction in relationships that you have.
Yeah, well, hey, don't judge a book by its cover.
Oh, okay, no.
I'm not saying I'm a bad guy, or you know what I mean. I'm just trying to say I have my days. Okay. You know, I have my boundaries. You know what I mean? And I like seeing things a certain way. And sometimes you might find later on into the relationship, because you know, first time around we only show each other the best features. You know what I mean? And then it's only later on that things become real and we start to show each other reality.
Okay.
So
I know, also, but I would like us to talk more with the conversation and take it to the social media platforms, because I feel like there's still so much to indulge with. And yeah, check us out on our social media platforms, search Town Waves and the Conversation Starter. Mr. Wanderlust, thank you so much for coming and engaging with us.
Thank you for having me.
It was lovely having you, man.
Of course.
Thank you. Adios. We will see you after the break with Word Out on Art.
Word on Art.
Welcome back to the Conversation Starter. We are on Word Out on Art. Today we have one of our local artists from Guangua. His name is Bonani Mukanti, aka Bonani Oceans. He's an artist from Guangua outside Zanin in the province of Limpopo. Started his art at an early age of 13 as a hobby. Inspiration from other artists inspired him to pursue art as his career. He specializes in portraits and does that to earn a living. He usually travels provinces like Gauteng, Eastern Cape, and Limpopo to meet up with new clients and actually showcase his artworks. He has met celebrities like DJ Fresh and Ricky Rick and done actually portraits for them. Ricky Rick, which he met at the Cotton Fest, and he has exhibited his works in the Polokwane Art Museum as well, where he managed to sell some of his pieces. So as an artist, he says his creativity specializes mostly in knowledge such as photography, modeling, and dancing. So he says that art is his life. I have a couple of his artworks here, but we'll put them surely on the social medias platforms, and then you'll get to see them there. His pieces are mostly on charcoal, and he does a lot of portraits, African faces, and he does murals as well. So that's our local artist, Mr. Bonani Oceans. And the word of the day, the word and advice of the day: exhibitions. What does an artist have to do on exhibitions? You need to know that you have to get your biography together. You need to have your artist statement, which states and you have to definitely show us a couple of your works so that we can be able to open a space for you to exhibit. So exhibitions are just not only for you to be displaying your works, but we need to know more about you and your works. Thank you, and that's from me, Kujo Meti, Word Out on Art, Sashtown Waves, Lockdown Waves, the Conversation Starter. We'll see you next time. Adios. Dark-skinned, chocolate shades, melanin dripping, sun-kissed glow on the color of the grounds where I am from. Birthed with birth genes, a queen, a woman, a